Did I just film an entire 30-minute video showcasing my journal collection in depth? Yes, I did. Did I finish the video to discover that I didn't press record? Yes, I did. Now I'm motivated by this deep anger and frustration, and instead of refilming the video because I feel like I'm losing my voice and my mouth is going dry from how long I spoke, I'm just going to talk about something else. Completely unscripted, going to talk about something else because that'll work. What I might as well talk about in this video is something that I don't really need notes for. I have a lot of experience with it because I'm going to talk about my writing journey. So, if you're interested in finding out the process of getting an idea to finishing a book, then you can stick around. If not, also stick around, or you can go if you want. I got my idea, my initial seed, I got it about 3 years ago now. I got it after I watched The Maze Runner for the first time ever. That would have made me about 18 at the time. Don't ask why I made it to 18 years old having never watched The Maze Runner. I watched it and I was like, wow, I can't tell you what the exact initial seed was because that is my book's plot twist. The very first idea that I ever got for the Evergreen was the plot twist. I don't want to say that in the sense of, oh, everything relies on this plot twist, this is the only big thing that matters, because it's not, but I remember the emotion I felt when I thought of that idea and I was like, I need to do something with this. I will just say the story that I initially had for the Evergreen is so unbelievably different to what it is now. It seems like it's a completely different genre, even though it is still dystopian slash science fiction. It is just so incredibly different. And when I think back onto my earliest notes that I ever took of getting this idea and the earlier drafts of the book, I almost cannot believe the direction that I was initially planning on going in because it just seems so silly now. It seems so silly. It was good. I don't want to completely shit on it because it got me where I am today. Certainly not, I wouldn't publish it, and I don't think I would have success publishing it because it wasn't good. It wasn't good. The relationships and the events that happened in the first book were incredibly different to what they are now. In a way, it makes me very proud of where I am now with the book as opposed to where I was when I first had the idea and it was brewing in my mind. I know as a reader I would not enjoy the first book, but I would very much enjoy the version of the book that I have now. So I had the initial idea and the massive question that everyone's asking. I can absolutely hear you clawing through your screens to get the answer. Did I plot and plan it? No, I didn't. I definitely had a rough outline of kind of where I wanted it to go, but by the time I actually started writing it, I had no idea of the ending. I feel like that's probably why I struggled so much of it and probably why it wasn't good. I mean, I probably, like, trying to place myself back in my mindset, I probably thought, I don't want this to be a happy ending. And I'm not going to allude now whether it is a happy ending or not because you'll have to read the book when it comes out. But I definitely had it in mind, oh, I don't want it to be a happy ending. I want this to be as dark and as horrible and sad as possible. I was a bit angsty when I was younger, but I say when I was younger, it's only about 3 or 4 years, but anyway, still stand. I read like an early version of it and I don't know what I was going through. I was making everyone quite miserable. And there is a lot of misery in, the finished version of the book, but it's certainly not as miserable. There's a lot of hope, and there's a lot more. The characters are a lot more dynamic in a sense, and they were very one dimensional. They were very, she's sad, he's mean, and now it's there's a lot more. All of them are very, very flawed, but also very, very lovely humans. So yes, I did just completely hit the ground running when I started writing. I had no idea where I wanted it to go in terms of how I get the start to meet the end. And I just wrote and things just happened. My idea, I have like the printed manuscript sitting over in the corner of my room of when I completed my first draft this time last year. Again, even if I was to look back on that and read it, what it is now is really, really different. I feel like it's so important as a writer to constantly look back on what it was and then you can appreciate what it is now because it's very easy to feel hopeless and feel like it's not good enough or you're not making any progress. but I definitely do feel like I've made progress when I look back on something that's even only like 6 months old. Now, I'm going to talk about this because I know that I would want authors to talk about it. I would like to discuss characters and where the characters for the story come from. I don't know how to explain it, but mine came to me the second the seed was planted. I kind of knew everyone. There's definitely characters that I had originally in the earlier drafts that are now no longer in there or no longer as important as they were. There's some characters now who I've changed their names and backgrounds and things like that, but the core characters have always been there from the start. I've never gotten rid of any like of the core like driving found family forces of the story. They have been there from the start and they have grown with me so much and just developed so much that they truly do feel real to me now. They feel like they're my found family. That's probably very unhealthy and sad and oh, I don't want to talk about it. I would say the thing that's had the most development for me, or the most prominent development, is the world building. That is something that at the start I definitely lacked in so much because I thought, well, I'm not writing fantasy, so I don't need to world build that much. I didn't really focus too much on it. I focused a lot more on the characters and the actual plot rather than the world building because I didn't realize initially how much impact world building has on characters and plot. You can't really justify characters' behaviors if you don't give readers context into their world and their upbringing and things like that. And once I realized that world building isn't something I could avoid, I embraced it fully, and now it's one of my favorite components of the story because I've made it into something that initially I never thought that I would be able to put these characters in a world like this, but now that I have, I love it. What I mean by that is in the earlier drafts, the world building and the setting was very bland compared to what it is now. I didn't really go into depth. I didn't do anything fun with it. I didn't do anything creative with it, annoyingly. But now I've really made it quite unique and folklore and fairy tale inspired and things like that. And I really turned it into what I love. And it doesn't change the core values or atmosphere of the story. It just adds so much more to the characters and to the plot. Guys, just don't avoid it. Just embrace world building, and it's so much fun to play in this sandbox of your imagination. So I don't think world building should be avoided at all. Do your world building, do your boring research, do what you have to do, just get that world built, get your characters in it, get your story going. One thing I will say about my writing journey in terms of the characters and the story is all my characters have been very easily identifiable, very easy to tell them apart. And surprisingly, the one who I struggled with most to understand is my main character, Evelyn. And when I say to understand, is I don't know if you've heard other writers talk about being able to interview your characters and how would they hold themselves in an interview? Would they truly be able to distinguish themselves from other characters in your story if you line them all up and put them in an interview? For all my other characters, I said yes. It was very clear where I got their motivation for them from. It's clear what their strengths and weaknesses are. It's clear their personality. It's clear in their voice. Although Evelyn's personality and voice I felt were very distinct, I didn't know who she was until about 6 months ago, maybe, which is, 3 years into a manuscript. You should know who your main character is. So I definitely lacked. Now that I know my main character, it's a whole new experience of writing. It feels very natural and real, which it felt like it with my other characters all along. But when I would write Evelyn's reactions to things, because the story is so focused on her, where she's the main girl, it's so important to understand her like you would understand yourself. And I had to do a lot of work to do it. I had to talk to myself a lot. I had to think, I had to journal, I had to put myself in her mind. I feel like now I could confidently interview her and she would stand as her own person, very different from the others. But if you were to ask me it 6 months ago, then I really don't think that I would have been able to do that. So, this time a year ago, I had finished my first draft. I clicked the end and I printed it off. I accidentally used £50 worth of printer ink. So, don't do that. I obviously didn't realize. I didn't know. Don't do that. I printed it and I wrapped it in lace and I kept it as this absolute treasure. I thought, "Oh my god, this is it. Like I'm an author. My life is complete." And I read it and it was terrible. It was not good. It was really not good. And let me actually grab something. Okay, so what I'm about to show you, when I first ever, I think I got halfway through my first ever draft and I was so eager to put it into a proper book that I found this website that lets you print your own book, and I can't remember for the life of me what it is. I wouldn't use it again because it's not the best for fiction novels and things like that. This was my first ever physical copy that I made of the book to have it in my hands and motivate me to finish it. Obviously, the cover, she's not good, and she's not very thick. This is because this is only, let's see, about 200 pages of writing, and God, look at the formatting. Terrible. I would not have been able to self-publish this. I really recommend doing this because it helps so much to visualize it and really have a goal. This was, I believe, this is really similar in the sense of like the poor formatting and things like that. But this was just a bit more refined version of the cover, obviously a bit thicker. I believe this is the whole story. No, it's not. It's, oh my god. I can't do one thing. This isn't the full story. This is only 250 pages of the story. I don't know why I put money into things that aren't complete because I've never actually used this. I use it as motivation. This is the most recent one that I did. I believe I did this about the same time I finished my manuscript. Layout is a little bit better, still not good, and I just ripped the cover off because I wanted it to be like a normal bound manuscript kind of thing. I did use this initially to make some edits. So let me show you. Like, I don't know if you can see that, but I did like initial edits and kind of things like that. I did stop using this. I don't know at what point. I think I've realised, oh, I need a lot more work. But this, I believe, is the full book. Yeah, this is the full book. So this is showing up at the moment as about 300 and something pages. I believe the book is about 400 pages, I think. Obviously, it will change when it gets properly formatted and things like that. These are just some props that I invested in to motivate me to get it finished. I feel like it's such a helpful thing to have a physical copy of it in your hand to hold and to look at, to reach towards. I feel like this especially was my most helpful one because it just felt so realistic. I think in the sense that it was unfinished and it didn't have a cover, it felt realistic and attainable. So where am I now with it? As I currently sit here in front of my bookshelf, I'm at chapter 29 of edits. There's 40 chapters unless I change something dramatic. So I've only got about 11 chapters left, and this is just for like the general edit. I did change quite a big portion of like the second, third act climax. I did kind of change it. So I'm now doing a lot of damage control on that, but I'm so happy with it. And I'm also scared. I don't want to finish it. I don't want to say goodbye to it because I just love it so much. I shouldn't be dramatic because I plan to do more books. Like, I plan to do it as a series, so it's not like I'm saying goodbye to it forever. It is my baby, and I've had it now for I feel like more than 3 years. I've seen it at its worst. I haven't seen it at its best yet because I don't think it will be its best until it's on the bookshop. That's just a little bit about my writing journey. Obviously, there's so much more that I could talk about, my highs and lows, my other projects that I do on the side, but this was my just general quick overview of my current project, The Evergreen. I'll have to go more in depth in another video about the plot and the characters and why you should read it, why you should care. But for now, I just wanted to do a quick talking video about it. I hope it hasn't come through in the video how frustrated I am that I talked for half an hour and I wasn't recording. I want to bang my head into a wall, but I'm not going to do that. So I thought instead, let me just ramble completely unscripted. I'll find in the edit if there's anything useful here. There's probably not, and I'll probably have to delete this. And now I've wasted another 30 minutes. If you found something valuable out of this, do let me know. If you enjoyed this, do let me know. If you hated this and you thought it was terrible, don't let me know. Thank you so much for watching, and I shall see you in the next one.